Hello everybody. I want to continue a little bit more with what Sable and I have been doing on the ground. And you can see we've already warmed up a little bit in the walk. We've gone a little bit in the trot to the other side. And this is a Monday today. She's had some days off and I want to just see how she feels overall. The trot looks energetic. She's stretching. She feels like she's in a good animated mode. And if you can watch how much nicer she's tracking up already, really pleased with that. And to break it up over here, I've put down a little pole so that we're not getting too much into a running mode with her. She is, on a day like today, easily, so good girl, easily tuning out her surroundings. So my goal is, and my job is, to break it up and to keep her attention on different things as we're navigating our circular lunge pattern here. And as you've seen before, we don't have side reins on her, which which seems to work best for Sable. She has been, swishing her tail and shaking her head and pinning her ears a lot, and this seems to be the happiest that she can be when we're just lunging, and she's doing a good job balancing herself at this point. So I'm just going to take her one more time over the pole here, just see how she likes that. We're just gradually, swirling back and forth. Come, good girl. So, very good girl. So, come. There's the pole. She has a jumper background, so the poles don't bother her, but they have the effect of, having her pay attention to something else other than just running around and going into a little bit of a trance-like mode, as they do sometimes. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few walk-trot transitions. And walk. See if she pays attention to me, and she does very nicely. And trot. Come, trot. So, good girl. So, and as you can see, we have a pretty good length of, the lunge line between her and me, which I'm trying to keep at a steady elastic rein contact. And walk. So if I talk a little bit more as I do in these videos, she sometimes and walk. It's hard for her to distinguish when I talk to her and when I talk just rambling on into the microphone. So I'm just going to concentrate on her for a moment here. And walk and trot. Trot, Sable, good. So trying to make her stretch again. So yeah, the stretching is not quite there right now. I think it's a little bit more the excitement today after a few days off. And walk. And walk. So, good girl. So I make this circle a little smaller so I have a little bit more influence over her. And trot. And walk. Good girl. And trot. And walk. Good. So, and trot. And walk. So, walk. So, very good. Do it one more time. And trot. So, and walk. Good. So now I'm going to switch directions. And we're going to do a little bit of canter work together. The canter with Sable has been a little bit complicated. She's been between, annoyed looking, which may have to do with some, back issues, some tension in the back that she's had before we started with all of this, and, tail swishing, all these different things that you can see in my descriptions in the previous videos about Sable's journey. And so now we're at a point where we're going to do walk-trot transitions and trying to see how she is today with her tendency to cross canter, especially going to the right. So we're starting with the left, and see, I'm just going to ask her to do these transitions: walk, trot, canter, trot, walk, and nothing for very long, to keep her mind in working mode and in focus, so that she doesn't glaze over and start running or start, thinking of other things. So, and trot. Here we go. Come, Sable. Good girl. So, good girl. Yeah. And so she's cantering on her own here right now, which is actually, I'm going to take that because she's actually in the correct lead and seemingly quite sort of happy and not overly excited. So then I'm going to make the circle a little smaller, bring her back to a trot. Trot, good girl, and walk. So, and that is how I like to introduce the canter to the horses that have a little bit of a rehab situation, as Sable does, and no excitement, no high energy for any length of time, a nice little snort in between. If she needs to scratch herself, that's fine too. There's a lot of flies out here. And then we're going to go into it one more time. I always start out with a smaller circle to help the horse with the transition into the canter. It's easier than making them run into it on a larger circle. So, and trot. So, good girl. So, ideally I'd like to have a little stretch before we go into the next gate up. I'm going to wait for her. Good girl. So, good girl. Und pass auf. So, pass auf. And canter. Come, canter. So, good girl. So, and as soon as she is in the canter, a little bit of exuberance, no big deal, I let her out into a bigger circle again. And there she goes. And that is actually really, really nice. I like that. And then we're going to go back to trot. Good girl. And walk. So we've done this a little bit before, so you can tell that she knows this routine, this pattern. And I always say there's nothing wrong with horses offering, when they know what's coming. And I never, punish a horse or say no to that when they're offering to trot before you say the word, or to canter, when it's part of a pattern and they're trying to, anticipate what you want. I think that's actually a really nice thing. So we're going to do it one more time. Come. And forward. Good girl. Smaller circle. And trot. So that's good. So good girl. And you always have to think that the more repetitions you do, the bigger the adrenaline level, the higher. So you have to focus and make sure that you don't heat your horse up more than they might already be naturally. So I'm going to go again. And pass off. And canter. Come. So good. Easy. Good girl. So a little bit of a squeal there. I don't know if you could hear that. But she's overall, I have to say, pleasantly contained. Nothing too exuberant to this side. And trot. Good. And walk. And walk. Good girl. So there's that excitement, a little bit of adrenaline driven. Walk. Come. Good girl. Come. Yeah. And there's a fine line between, the adrenaline that makes her feel joyful and the adrenaline that borders on, feeling overwhelmed, which then sometimes can go into a moment of, resistance or, not so compliant behavior. But she's doing so far so good. I'm going to let her have a moment of walk here, just to catch her breath, also to regulate her, her adrenaline levels, her stress hormones in the brain. So if there are any, can sort of simmer down for a moment. And you can always, watch your horse, see how much you think they need. And if you need to walk in between for a few more minutes, no big deal, right? It's always better to be, starting out from a fairly neutral baseline with all of this. But I think she's doing fine, so I'm going to have her change directions, and we're going to see how she's doing to the other side, the more difficult side. And I sort of feel like she's probably going to give us a little bit of a cross canter this way, but maybe not. I'm just going to let her show us herself. And if she does, the last week when we did this kind of work, she self-corrected. And I'm curious if she will do that again this time. And the way she did it last week was she self-corrected by bucking, sometimes quite big, but then continued on the correct lead. So we'll have a little bit of a I'll have a look here, right? Good girl, come and trot. So trotting on a small circle. Good. Good girl. A little bit of a relaxation in the neck is what I'm looking for. Good girl. So there you go. There you go. Und pass auf. Pass auf. Und canter. Come. Come. There's the cross canter. Come. Come. There you go. And there she's in the correct lead. Yeah. And this is what I was talking about. She kind of gets a little exuberant. I'm encouraging her to go more forward as she correctly canters to the right now. And then I'm going to say trot and trot. Smaller circle and trot and walk. So, and we're walking. Yeah, and you can see definitely to the side the level of excitement is much bigger. So my goal is to make her just go into a walk and just kind of have a little bit of a moment of, just regrouping here. She can scratch herself. Flies are horrible today. They're around me, they're around her. We're not going to drag this out very long today. We're both sprayed adequately with fly spray and other things. But, those are sometimes the realities of everybody's different workplaces. So, a little bit of trot. And we're going to go ask her again. First, a nice lowering of the head. That's a good sign. So, good girl. And I'm going to ask. Und pass auf. And canter. Come. Canter. Yeah, good girl. Now we got a perfect canter strike off. And look how nice and relaxed that is. Much, much better after she had a chance to sort it out the first time. And now we're having a beautiful canter to the right. And trot. And trot. Good. So, very good. Relaxed trot. And back to walk. And walk. So, keep walking. Good girl. Fantastic. I love it. So, she's itchy again. I let her scratch. No reason to be, not tolerant of her needs. Not just tolerant, but, considerate, hopefully. So, that was super, super lovely. And we'll just give it a moment here, and then we'll do it again. And again, just because it worked once, it's not always said that it will work every single time perfectly after that, but important for her to have a moment of walk here to process how that felt when she was striking off into the correct lead a moment ago. So now we're going to go back into a little bit of trot. Come and trot. Good girl, Sissy. So, and again, a little bit of stretching of the neck would be nice. There you go, small circle. So, quiet, everything very quiet. So, und pass auf, Sable. So, und pass auf. So, und komm. Und canter. Yeah, good girl. There it is again, perfect strike off to the right today. So happy, the second one in a row. I'm just going to let her go one more little bit of a round. Yeah. Good. And trot. Let her trot it out a little bit. That must feel so good. After a canter that is correct. I do believe that horses completely feel and understand when they're cross cantering or counter cantering, and that it doesn't feel very good in their bodies. And walk. So, very good. Another little itch there. Well deserved. Good girl. So, very, very nice. And that is really what I wanted to see today, and that's what I wanted to show to round off the picture of our groundwork that we've been doing up to this point. And what I will start doing in the next few days is I will start lunging her with the saddle on, asking for the same walk, trot, canter, relaxed rhythm, and regularity in all gaits. And then eventually I will start sitting on her and using the same voice commands and adding my aids and pretty much starting over with her, as I said before, you know, wanting to re-engage her in a way that feels a little bit more joyful, and, you know, so that we all have fun. It's not just about the rider, but it's mostly and foremostly about the horse having fun. So with that, I thank you for watching, and happy horsemanship. Thanks, Sable.